say it right now. He's our modern-day John Madden, the way he announces games, the way he breaks down games. And I know Baldy's not going to accept that compliment because I know he holds John Madden in high regard, but that's how we feel about him right now because he teaches us the game inside out. And the passion is like John Madden, the passion for the game. You hear it. And boom. Fortunately, he had to go up to U.S. Bank Stadium last week, and we're talking about wow plays and everybody wowing people. Well, there was a couple of decisions in that game, and I said, wow. Thank God that's not my coach. Thank God I don't have to root for those teams as we say good morning to Brian Baldinger. That was my big takeaway on Sunday. With the Niners off on Sunday after beating the New York Giants on Thursday, we'll get into that. I just said, wow, we have it really good here in San Francisco with Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, Debo, and Christian McCaffrey, because what you saw up in Minnesota, it was like, who's trying to lose the game? Wow, what bad decision-making. I'm surprised some of those coaches made it back to the locker room or on the team plane.
Well, that last one by Brandon Staley going for it at his own 24-yard line, on 4th and 1 without Austin Eckler, hadn't run the ball well all day. The quarterback doesn't sneak at all. He doesn't do that like a lot of the quarterbacks do. I mean, you had limited options, and then you get stuffed, and you give Kirk Cousins and that offense first down, at the 24 with a chance to win it. And, the Vikings just came up short, but I mean, those kind of calls, like you could really be in a crypt at 0-3 if you lose the game because of that. And I can't imagine the noise in Los Angeles or San Diego or any Charger fans, how loud it would be over that call.
Baldy's, of course, is presented by our proud partner, Golden State Lumber. Serving the Bay Area for 3 generations. Building better starts with Golden State. When you succeed, we succeed. Visit GoldenStateLumber.com. Baldy, what about the decision for Kirk Cousins to spike it there? What did they waste 29 seconds, 30 seconds there?
No doubt.
Just not spiking the football, and then they throw an interception, and they blame it on the crowd noise and the lack of communication? That just can't happen with a veteran quarterback.
It can't. I mean, I was saying it in real time. I mean, the analyst has to jump in the final minute. You got to make the decisions. You're talking straight strategy to all the listeners out there, whether it's TV or radio, whatever you're doing. And I'm all over. They got the completion over the middle to Hockenson. They got a first down. You don't really care. You need 3. If you get the first down, which they got, you're at the 6-yard line.
Yep.
You have 3 shots to the end zone. You don't need 4. You only need 3. So you spike it right there. You don't have any timeouts. You can't run. The play started at 41 seconds, and they threw the ball into the end zone on the tip for the interception with 12. Like 29 seconds went off the clock there.
Wow.
Like you practice this stuff all the time. And that right there, I just felt like even when they took the snap with 12 seconds, that it was rushed. The whole thing was rushed. You could have just spiked it, huddled up, thought about the play. Justin Jefferson was off the field with a calf. He was cramping up. I think he was back in the game at that point.
Yep.
I mean, you just give yourself a little bit of time to breathe, think about it. Just know that all we have to do is score a touchdown. You might get 3 shots to the end zone to do it.
Baldy, I can't wait to talk about Brock Purdy with you because you've been kind of all over this guy in terms of how much you love him. And everybody wants to tell me what he's not. And I didn't think he had a great first half, but there are some throws. And I marvel at it because it reminds me of like a shortstop in the hole. This backpedaling blitzer in my face, throw a touch pass to the sidelines, spin around to keep my body from getting blasted in the shoulder. Like, he has an uncanny ability to just hit guys on these layered throws where only they can make a play. Yes, the Giants cut under a couple of balls. They were in front of some plays. I thought they did a great job, their DBs, recognizing where he wanted to go. But I look up, and they scored 30 again, and he's getting the ball to his playmakers without Ayuk on the field. What'd you make of Brock Purdy's performance the other day?
I mean, he's outstanding. He doesn't. It's all about, at the quarterback position, okay, it's about 2 things. It's about 3 things, Joe.
Yeah.
And you hit on all of them. It's about speed of decision-making, because everything gets speeded up. When Wink Martindale dials up a 0 blitz and you got a free hitter coming right at you, you don't have time to make it to think about it. You hit Ronnie Bell on a perfect throw for a touchdown. So it's speed of decision-making. It's how many great plays you make, which you don't have to make a ton of them, especially with all the players they have around them. And then it's about mistakes and limiting mistakes. But limiting mistakes without still staying aggressive.
Yes.
Like, you can eliminate mistakes and throw the ball in the stands, so what? Like, you're not making anything happen. Like, this guy's making things happen without making mistakes. The guy doesn't have, it's 3 games now. He doesn't have a turnover. He hasn't thrown an interception in 7 straight games. Like I see some of the stuff that people say, I'm not wowed by him. Like he just throws between them. He's not
Right.
great. I don't know. Like I see all the little things, the ball handling, if you ever boxed, right, and you're in the middle of the ring, they call it parry a punch. You just parry a punch. You literally just step 6 inches to avoid the punch. You don't run to the other side of the ring to avoid the punch.
Right.
You just stand there and just make a miss.
Yeah.
Like he's constantly parrying punches in the pocket. And it's a great skill. It's a great skill that I talk to quarterback coaches and offense coordinators and head coaches, and they tell me you can only improve that so much. But mostly it's a great GPS instinct that he has.
Yeah, it's a great point that you bring up in terms of the pairing, like just the little twitch movement here, there. Also, like those guys jumped on balls early in that game. I thought the New York Giants corners they knew what some of the routes were, and they jumped on them. Kittle had to break up a pass. But he's unfazed, Brock Purdy, and it doesn't affect his aggression or the very next play. And I watch Jimmy, and I don't want to compare and contrast Jimmy G. I don't want to bash him, but there's times where I watch him and I go, oh, he's rattled. Like I could physically feel that he's rattled by the rush and he's looking down. I don't get that same sense with Brock Purdy. Is that just a unique skill that he's got, or is that what all the greats have?
Well, obviously, the best that ever did it right there, Joe Montana, he had that. You couldn't rattle him. And I feel like he's got – I'm not comparing him to Joe Montana.
No.
I'm not doing anything like that. But he does have that composure. He does have that poise. And, you see it, Joe, but the people that see it first, if you do rattle guy, is the defensive players. Mm. They see it and feel it first. They see it before anybody else. And they'll talk about it on the sidelines. I know certain defensive players, great players, they know – when they got their quarterback. They know when the game is in the bag because of what they're doing to the quarterback. I never get the feeling, no matter what, how many shots he takes or a missed throw, whatever, that you ever have that guy. And that's a dangerous composition if you're trying to defend it.
No doubt. Baldy here on the Morning Roast. He joins us every single Tuesday, 7:30. We love it. It is Shark Week here on the Roast, and talk about Purdy's composure, and it's easy to be composed, right, when you got the weapons that he has around him. No Brandon Ayuk, no problem at times. They still score 30. He throws for over 300 yards, but I'm looking at Deebo Samuel, Baldy, and he talked the talk this offseason. Said, I need to get in better shape. I let my team down last season. I held out. I was doing all the things on social media trying to get my money, and he had a down year by his standards. He's come back, and he looks like an all-pro again. I mean, he's running routes. He's going deep. The back shoulder catch at the end of the game against the New York Giants. Tell me what you're seeing from Deebo Samuel right now. He looks like the 2021 version to me right now.
Yeah, I agree. He's very determined right now. He really – there was a time 2 years ago, because of the injuries at running back, that he had to be a runner. Mm-hmm. And we're like, wow, that's a nice dual threat. But then you go, it also beats the hell up out of a receiver. And that was his thing. It was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll be a team player. But, my shelf life in this business isn't going to be very long. So they don't have to do that now with the 1-2 that they have between, McCaffrey and Mitchell. So they don't have to worry. He can just play the receiver position. And he just has that ability to just run through contact the way the great running backs do. And we saw, over and over again just last Sunday against the Giants.
Yeah, Deebo, McCaffrey, like monsters. They're so interchangeable, and the physicality and the toughness is so underrated for Christian McCaffrey. But I want to get to this offensive line. I feel like we're kind of sleeping on this Aaron Banks kid, and clearly Trent Williams is elite. What are you seeing from the offensive line right now for the 49ers? Because I feel like they've done a really good job.
Well, I always think of offensive lines, Joe, not individually. Yes, you could pick out Trent, and you could go, okay, like not many people that have ever played the game can do a lot of the things that he does. But I always think of offensive lines as a unit and how they play together. Like, honestly, the way that they step in their outside zone, it looks like a chorus line. I mean, you could just play the first step with their left foot going to the left over and over and over again, and they're stepping together. And they're stepping, and so it starts with just how well they play together right now. And, if you're running a toss crack and somebody's cracking the end and Trent's pulling and, you've got, Brendel and you've got Banks and they're going up to the second level, Like, you can draw it up on the chalkboard. You can walk through it. You can actually practice it at a pretty good tempo. But there's certain landmarks you have to hit.
Yep.
You have to hit. If you're going to make big run plays the way McCaffrey has, you have to block the second level. McCaffrey's going to have to make somebody miss along the way. There's going to be a safety or corner. He's got to make somebody miss for a long run. But you got to get the second level blocked. And these guys right now, the way that they're stepping together, working together, playing off one another, like it's a really sound, solid unit, the way they play together.
Well, Baldy, I wonder if they could be sound December the 3rd because the NFC looks like, look, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Things could change. I think Green Bay is waking people up. I had them as a sleeper this year. I think Green Bay is going to be a buttoned-up team down the stretch here. They're going to get some guys back. Detroit is, they're trying to get there, right? They're trying to get to the postseason. But the elite team I'm looking at is the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're not clicking yet. And yet, they're still running for 200 yards. DeAndre Swift is back. He's back in his hometown running hard like an East Coast guy. And their offensive and defensive lines are the gold standard, I believe, in the NFL. So my litmus test for this 49ers offensive line is going to come, in a couple weeks against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I'm not going to sleep on Arizona. They're a team that's going to come to play. But that Philadelphia Eagles team right now, they're not clicking yet, and I still feel like they're the class of the league, Baldy, because of the trenches. Tell me about their trenches and what they're doing up front on both sides of the offensive line. Or
I think they're the best right now. I thought they were the best last year. These young kids from Georgia.
Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter.
Oh.
I mean, people said he's the most talented player in the draft, and he is. And he's only into his third game, and he was the best defensive player on the field last night. That's Shaq Barrett.
Baldy, real quick.
That's Vita Vea.
Baldy, real quick.
That's Hassan Reddick. I mean, that's some great players on the field. He was the best player.
But I feel like the Eagles smeared Jalen Carter to get him at number 9. I swear to God, I'm like, how did the Eagles end up with him at 9?
Because other teams, they pass on him for whatever reason. And, because whether it's off the field, whatever it is, they passed, And the Eagles sat there. They took Jordan Davis the year before. All he's doing is getting better. So up front on the defense, there's defensive tackle rotation right now with Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Tui Peloto. They are loaded at defensive tackle. And that's a position that sometimes you get two good ones. I feel like the 49ers have two really good ones.
Hey, Hargrave's been awesome.
In Armstead and in Hargrave. And I love Givens. I love the rotation guys, but they're not 4 deep at that position like the Eagles are. And so what happens, Bonte, is they are just in a rotation. I mean, Jalen Carter's playing half the plays. So he can chase you from sideline to sideline if he has to. He doubled back at the end of the first half last night after rushing the quarterback and punched the ball right out of White's hands. And the Eagles got the recovery. They're fresh. And so that's the key. And then the offensive line last night, Lane Johnson's unbeatable. He hadn't given up a sack since week 11 of 2020.
Wow.
Malata Dickerson is just, he just moves bodies. Physically, there's not many people that can do what Malata does. And look, the passing game is good. It's not great yet. I think there's got to be a trust factor more with Jalen and his offense line about staying in there like he did on the touchdown throw to Zacchaeus. Mm-hmm. He stayed in there. He hung in there. He took the hit, but he made the throw. And I think he's bailed a little bit too early sometimes this year. And nobody can coach that, honestly. That's the quarterback and the feel and the trust. And that just comes over a period of time. I feel like Brock has that, when to escape, when to throw it away, all those I feel like Brock has that. I mean, he doesn't have the dynamic nature that Jalen has at this point, but that's okay. Joe Burrow last night had a Statue of Liberty offense, didn't move 6 inches in any direction, and he carved up the Rams. The way that he had to win the game last night.
Yeah, Burrow's toughness was unbelievable last night. You brought up Javon Hargrave. I knew he was good. You told us he was good. And I'm like, because everybody's talking about he can't stop the run and this, that, and the other. He was awesome in this last game. He has been an unbelievable signing. I mean, A+, it's 3 games, right? So I don't want to lose my mind. Baldy, he's awesome. He's a great player.
Well, he's one of the reasons why the Eagles had 70 sacks last year. I mean, his internal pressure and push. You watch the numbers. When he starts lining up next to Bosa, you look at the numbers that Bosa's going to put up when they start running their twist stunts and their games and all the things that's coming. I mean, the Giants were on the field long enough for any of that stuff to develop on Thursday night. You got to be on the field, to get pass rushes. But, so But once you get into some of these dog fights where, the team is dropping back 35, 40 times, and you start playing the games that they're going to play, like, pick your poison. Because Hargrave will crush the pocket all by themselves, but if you bring Nick with it, like, they're going to have some fun. There's going to be some celebrations, on the grave of some of these quarterbacks here on the coming weeks.
All right, Baldy, we got to get to Miami because what they did was just incredible, scoring 70 points. First team in the NFL to score 70 since 1966. And there was a lot of chirping going on in Denver this offseason. And Sean Payton taking shots at Nathaniel Hackett, and some coaches like, hey, man, that's not right. That's not ethical. And to get 70 dropped on them. And that team had to fly back to Denver knowing that they just gave up 70. And Mike McDaniel's offense, without Jalen Waddle's just having fun out there. They got a big game against Buffalo this Sunday. I can't wait to watch that. What the Miami Dolphins are for real, Baldy. I'm in on them being a legit Super Bowl contender with all the speed that they have and the creativity that you were on with Mike McDaniel. You talked about his creativity long before anybody, and we all see it now down in South Beach.
You know what I would love? You have the Manning cast, okay? I mean, it's wildly successful, and it's fun. I would love to sit in a film room with Kyle Shanahan watching that 70-point performance by Miami because he knows. He knows what that coach is capable of and the creativity. On the second touchdown drive, Devon Chain scored his first NFL touchdown. Before, in the first 2 weeks, he had one carry for 5 yards. He ran for 200 the other day. They ran for 350 yards. But they ran the same toss-crack play from 4 different formations all the way down the field. Like, it's the exact same play, different formations. And that's Mike. That's Mike, the motions, the formations, and then you got a quarterback who's just incredibly gifted, accurate, and fundamentally about as sound as anybody. And so, yeah, they could do it without Jalen Waddle. I mean, there's River Craycraft. Remember when River was there?
Yeah, nice.
They keep finding a way. This Devon Chain from Texas A&M, that's Mike McDaniels all the way. That's Mike looking at him going, that's Raheem Mostert too. Wow. That's what he saw. Like, he sees speed and then more speed and then vision. And, whether it was Jeffrey Wilson, all these guys that were in San Francisco, that was all Mike.
Yeah.
That 6th-round pick of Elijah Mitchell, that was Mike. Like, that was a battle in that room in San Francisco over a linebacker, which they desperately wanted to take. And Mike pounded the table for a guy that runs 4.4, at Elijah, Mitchell's size. So the guy just has a real talent and a real eye for what it takes at that position, and then just the creativity that goes with it.
You ever see a more creative shovel pass? Sorry to cut in.
No, did twice.
The shovel pass to a chain. Tyreek Hill's
you
coming
tell
around.
me, like, I'd like to see Steph Curry, like, analyze that play. Because I'd like to see the best no-look Steph Curry pass that he's had, too. Like, you get entertained, 4 days a week during the basketball season watching Steph. Like, that was Steph Curry at his very best right there.
One more note on Tyreek Hill specifically. When he left Mahomes, I think most of us, myself, I'll raise my hand. I know I was like, all right, he's a great player. We'll see if it translates to Miami, because it's hard to get a guy the ball. This is where other wide receivers have gone to end their careers. Mike Wallace is an example. How the hell is he so wide open all the time? Is he just so damn great? Is it a byproduct of Mike McDaniels? Is it defenses and he just keeps killing them? Like, I look up and the guy is behind everyone, or he's catching balls underneath and running past everyone. He's like a top 5 weapon all time, it feels like. And people think that's crazy.
New formation. They have a new formation with Tyreek. I mean, there he is. I mean, you can't hardly see him. He's just crouched down behind the left tackle. And he just pops out of nowhere. They can't see him until he breaks free. That's part of it. But honestly, Mike McDaniel creates an environment where players are forced to have fun. If you just want to have a good time, go down to the field before a game with Tyreek Hill. Like, he's challenging everybody that can throw a football. He's left-handed. He'll challenge everybody that can throw a football who can throw it further. Like, he's doing one-handed catch. Like, he's as loose as you can possibly be. Mike does not want any players to ever feel pressure, to feel tight, to play tight. Like, it's just not his personality, and it certainly doesn't want his players to be like that. So I feel like a lot of it is just, like, honestly, Tyreek just having so much fun out there right now and knowing that on any given day he could get 15 targets. And if he doesn't, honestly, Tyreek is the last guy that's ever going to complain.
Really?
He just doesn't. You never see it. You never see him just like, oh, I'm not involved today. Like the guy's out blocking his butt off. Like he's a good blocker,
Got
really
to see
good
on his
blocker.
chest. He's got to see on his chest.
He just
Jackie.
the guy's just having a darn good time. Nobody's having more fun on the field than he is.
Oh, no doubt. I can't wait for the Waddle Dash too. Buffalo, Miami this weekend. There's some great games. Week 4 slate, man. The NFL schedule makers know what the heck they're doing here. Baldy, where are you going to be at this weekend?
I am right here in Philadelphia, Washington and Philadelphia.
Interesting.
I get a home game here.
Sam
man. I
Howell?
just go.
I thought the Commanders would throw. I thought they were going to battle the Bills, and I thought that was going to be a close game. And Buffalo showed me something that they mean business this season, up 37-0. I know Washington wanted to preserve the shutout, and they kick a field goal at the end of the game. Sam Howell, man, did not look good. Maybe they need to commit to those 2 running backs and Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson Jr. a little more. Was not impressed with Sam Howell last week, Baldy.
He was disappointing. Even more disappointing was Washington's defense. I mean, look, the 2 best players on Buffalo's offense is Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it.
Yep.
Everybody knows it. So how is it that they could always, Stephon Diggs can always be wide open, and Josh Allen always has lanes to run through? Like, Washington came in with 10 sacks and 20 quarterback hits, and they couldn't put a glove on Josh Allen. Like, it was just, he made him look really, I mean, they just, the 2 of them just went up and down the field on Washington.
Baldy,
that was even more disappointing than Sam Howell.
Have you met Taylor Swift?
No, I haven't. I have not. I mean, I know she's from Reading, Pennsylvania. She's an Eagle fan, but I'm not a Swiftie, man. I don't know any songs by her. I don't even know what she sounds like.
I'm surprised
she
he
sings
has
about breakups.
I-
It's a big story.
Well, you know what her next album's going to be called? Our boy Sam back here came up with it. X's and O's.
X's and O's.
You
All
like
right.
that?
Well, I see that there's like a cheat sheet for, like football 101 novices where she can get, up to speed here real quickly on just what the heck is going on in Kansas City.
I'm surprised, Baldy, you haven't snuck into whatever concerts.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah. I've snuck into a lot of concerts before. Snuck into the Rolling Stones, U2. I've snuck into a lot of concerts. I've never had a desire to sneak into a Taylor Swift
Be
concert.
careful,
And I'm not
'cause
dogging her. I heard it's a great show.
Yeah.
She made $1 billion, man, on this tour.
Yeah.
Like, it's awesome. I just, it's just not my music.
Yeah, I'm with you,
If
Baldy.
Led
Be
Zeppelin
careful.
could have a reunion, I would sneak into Led Zeppelin, yeah.
All right. Be careful.
And I
'cause
know,
the Swifties
Bonte, you can't spot a Led Zeppelin song. I know that. I'm just saying. I'll take you with me if they ever come back.
I'll ride on your back, Baldy. I'll ride
I
on the
love
shoulders
it.
and rock
I
out
love
with you,
it.
man, at a Led Zeppelin concert. We'll make that happen, man. No, be careful with the Swifties, though. They come at you. I heard, man, they're a mob, man.
Hey.
It's like the Bayhive and the Swifties, dude. You don't
Baldy.
touch them.
I'll wear my Kevlar vest.
In the
Bonte.
words of Led Zeppelin, when are you going to California? When are you coming?
When you come,
I know. I want to get there, man, real bad.
We miss you.
Nothing on the horizon. I'm in Philly and New England here the next couple weeks, but we'll be out there soon enough.
All right,
cool.
Baldy, man. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
Okay, guys.
It's always fun, Baldy. Take care.
Yep. Thanks.
All right, Brian
I love
Baldinger here on the roast, man. The Swifties, man. No desire.
Could you imagine?